underneath every single one of us, right, there's a reason why we do what we do. There's a reason why we go to work every day. There's a reason why we push the limits. You know what I mean? Like, what are you striving for? What do you show up for every single day?
So I found out that money wasn't going to be the cause of my happiness, which then in turn pushed me to think what did make me happy. And I remember when I used to be in the gym as an amateur boxer, competing, training every day, just living a good lifestyle. That's what really made me happy, because you have to overcome your fears. You have to overcome your own self every day, even to get to that gym and to train and to push yourself and do all of that. You have to overcome a lot of obstacles before you could get to that.
Let's just go and see the world and just show them what it really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very, very special episode. This is the very first episode of Project Startup, which is a brand new show that we've put together because I think it's important, especially a lot about what we're trying to do here is to provide education and kind of have conversations that helps the everyday person get ahead in life. And the startup show is something that is very personal to me. I'm a big lover of business, but more so what it can do for people and the journey it can take people on and how it can change someone's life. And I wanted to, for a long time, I've wanted to do something like this, and it's really, really exciting. So Project Startup is, we're going to be taking some business owners, some good friends of mine on a journey where we're going to help them launch their product, turn it into, take their passion and turn it into something that's tangible for them, that is going to be life-changing for them. And more importantly, we all get to go on a journey together, and we get to share it with you guys, the listeners, the people who are tuning in, so that you can get not only just learn about business frameworks and principles, but actually see what it takes, actually see the journey you have to go on as a business owner, and how sometimes it's not straight to the moon as Instagram says it is. And we want to just capture that whole journey. So first of all, I want to introduce Disco. Disco's back. He's here. John, our producer, a big thanks to him. 1 2 1 2. Yeah. He's here and he's with us. And he's going to be capturing this journey from a podcasting perspective. Donnie's over here capturing behind the scenes. He's amazing behind the camera. So all the content that you see, you can say thank you to him and reach out. You'll be sure to see him, and we'll tag him. But the stars of the show,
what an intro.
The boys, the stars of the show,
what an intro.
Right? The homies that we're going to be taking through this journey, the startup project, are the guys from Padbros, Leo and Ray. How are you, fellas?
Doing well, bro. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready to rock.
Let's go.
How are you, Leo? You nervous?
Bro, I'm a bit nervous.
So just for everybody listening, the process of today is this is the introduction to Project Startup. It's the introduction to Padbros. It's an introduction to the vision. And we want to give insight into what this show is all about. We want to give insight into you two, your journey, and we want to give insight into the product and the business that is Padbros. Let's start. I want to start with you guys. Where are we? How do we get here? Like, what? Give everybody a bit of an intro into who you guys are and what you do.
I think Leo's going to start us off on that one.
Start us off, bro. Come on.
Nah, all right. Since Leo's a bit nervous, I'll get us kicked off. But you obviously know us, Kyle, and we've been hanging out for the last couple of weeks. We've been doing a lot of training together and all that sort of stuff. But for everyone out there, me and Leo are both personal trainers. We work out of Tribute Boxing. I started working at that gym probably about 3 years ago, I think now, eh? Leo's been an OG there. He's probably been there since like close to day one. So he's been there a lot longer than I am. And he's been a personal trainer a lot longer than I have as well. I guess the way that we came about starting Padbros, and it was real funny, bro. Honestly speaking, we've been in the same gym for about 2 years before we actually started to decide to sit down together and work on something as a collective. And anyone out there who's ever worked at a gym before, you sort of understand that your time is sort of geared towards giving your client the best with the time that you have. So you don't really have a lot of time to chat to each other and actually sit down and talk about life and all that sort of stuff until COVID happened. And it was real funny, like, because the conversation that we had in that car, so the way that it started was me and Leo were doing a shift together at Collins. So one of the gyms down in Docklands, but we had to travel up to Abbotsford. For whatever reason, I didn't have my car that day. And I either usually take the tram or I'm driving my own car from point A to point B because we might have clients in different locations. So we always got to be mobile. For whatever reason, that day, we had the ability to jump in the same car together. And we just had a chat about what was going on in life and how lucky we were to still be able to train people and make money and earn income to provide for our families through fitness, through boxing. And all you really needed was a set of mitts and a pair of boxing gloves and you're good to go.
Yep.
So that was the first time we actually had a chat, and we sat down and we were talking in the car about how blessed we were, how lucky we were to be able to still do that. And we started thinking, like, why don't we provide this opportunity for others? For me, myself, I never had a personal training background before I started working at the Tribute Gym. I used to be an electrician. But when I did do that change and when I did do that switch, it was life-changing for me. You know what I mean? So we really wanted to sort of be able to provide other people with that same opportunity, very similar to what I had. And I'm sure Leo's got his own story that started him off on his journey in the fitness industry. But that's when we decided to make Padbros. We started to say, let's make this accessible for everyone, where a lot of people are already training with Leo, training with me to try and sort of pick our minds about how we do things as a trainer. Like other trainers would come train with us. But we just said, you know what, let's start up and provide that as a service and tell everyone this is what you're going to learn. This is the course that we're going to put together. And we started off with an 8-hour sort of pad holding course in person, all that sort of stuff. But then we started to develop from there. Started to create our own style, started to create different styles, which was more appealing to certain people. And then we started to get that international reach because we made digital content that was accessible to everyone in the world now. So that's where we are at this stage at the moment. Like, that's how far we've gone. Like, the journey's been long, hasn't been easy, but that's sort of where we're at the moment. And it's sort of like a side hustle for us because our main thing is working at the gyms. Leo's part owner at Tribute, and we're both full-time PTs there, so we service our clients. And we always used to say to ourselves, hey, bro, once a week, even if it's like 5-6 hours, whatever it is in the afternoon, we've got to sit down and we just got to talk about stuff and how to develop the Padbros style and how to develop more content, how to develop all of that. And just been crushing it since then. Like, it's been really good. And all that effort we've put into it has been awesome. So it's been good.
Leo, what's your journey in the fitness industry?
I was from everywhere. From New Zealand, obviously, and I was a trainer back there, playing rugby professionally for a bit, and then got a bit old. The body got a bit tired, so I just, I love the gym, and decided I wanted to get into the PT side of things. So that kicked off, and big story, having dramas at home, and we decided to move. Myself, my wife, and the kids decided to move to Australia and give Melbourne a crack, and got into Tribute.
When was that? How, like, what?
Probably
what
6-7 years ago, bro. That was quite a while back, and moved there, got into Tribute, and then kicked off from there.
So one thing that, like, you both are family men, right? So I think, you said that it changed your life getting into the fitness industry and probably more so becoming your own boss or becoming a business owner. But I guess, like, there's, like, underneath every single one of us, right? There's a reason why we do what we do. There's a reason why we go to work every day. There's a reason why we push the limits, like Leo probably does fucking 6,000 sessions a week, from the looks of it, right? But Ray, you're really busy too. You're doing a lot of work. and you guys are really passionate about what you do as well. But what's behind the business? Like, why do you guys do what you do, right? Why? Like, what is it? Why are we sitting here? You know what I mean? Like, what are you striving for? What do you show up for every single day?
One thing for me, I felt like if I go back and think about my experience leading up to becoming a PT, right? I was an apprentice electrician for about 5 years. Really took my time with it. Was a little bit lazy with my schooling. That's why it took me a little bit longer than usual. And then I got all the way up to the stage where I was a qualified electrician. And I found out that the whole time you're running through your apprenticeship, they're promising you at the end of it all, there's going to be a nice paycheck for you. You're going to be on a good wage. Then life's going to be good. So I thought I was suffering through all of that to get to that stage where I was on good money, until I found out when I got to there, it still wasn't making me happy. So I found out that money wasn't going to be the cause of my happiness, which then in turn pushed me to think what did make me happy. And I remember when I used to be in the gym as an amateur boxer, competing, training every day, just living a good lifestyle. That's what really made me happy, because before that, before I ever even started boxing, I was a full-time smoker. I was about 115 kilos, super overweight, never played a sport in my life, never used to exercise on a regular basis, nothing. And then when I decided to get in and start doing boxing, I realized that all of the stuff that you need to do to be successful has to come from you, has to come from your efforts. There's no shortcuts. You have to put in each and every step, and you have to show up each and every day to be able to achieve something great. You have to overcome your fears. You have to overcome your own self every day, even to get to that gym and to train and to push yourself and do all of that. You have to overcome a lot of obstacles before you could get to that. So like I was saying, I was super overweight. I was 115 kilos, full-time smoker. I quit all of that. You know what I mean? Quit drinking. I realized if I was to become an athlete and take this sport seriously and really try and achieve something, I'd have to stop hanging out with certain friends that would take me out of my path to being good. And a lot of the passion that I have, that I put into Padbros, comes from the stage of my life where I was able to overcome something that I didn't think was possible at the start, until I got to the stage where I'm like, hey, look, you know what? I could do this. And I could convert my energy, and I could convert my sort of my hardworking attitude. I could convert that into something real, which is, for me, the pinnacle of everything at that stage was having my fight, you know, having an amateur boxing match. That was the pinnacle of like all of my efforts. And going through that, I just have the same passion towards showing people that they can do it too. So for me as a trainer, I really like coaching fighters, because I know exactly what that journey meant for me and what it done for my life. But also, now that I'm making money off my passion, if they want to get to the stage where you're a trainer and you really love boxing, now you want to try and earn a living from it, more than happy to teach you that as well, because I've been through both sides. I've gone through and competed and lived that lifestyle as an athlete, as a fighter. But now I've also converted that knowledge that I've had and that passion that I've had into what provides my bread and butter at home now. I have a wife, I have a son, I've got my parents that I look after, I've got a house that I'm looking after, all that sort of stuff. My wife doesn't work anymore, they're looked after. So it is possible out there. And before this, like I was saying, when I was an electrician, I used to think life was you rocking up to work, hating life for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, coming home and enjoying the 4 hours that you have off before you go to sleep, and maybe having a weekend off or a holiday off here and there. But I rock up now and I'm happy every single day from start to finish, because I'm helping people achieve their goals, coming in and meeting people that are happy to see me. It's not like I'm providing a service for people that are like just trying to undercut me, or all of that stuff, negative stuff that happens in the construction industry. I left all that behind, and now it's just a different mindset. So for me, it's been such a blessing to be able to do that.
So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I think that's the beauty of business, in a sense. Like, you know, if you can really truly create something that you love to show up to every day, and that it inspires you, you know, like, fuck, and I think that's the most powerful. That's what I was saying before, right?
Yeah.
Like, what business can actually do for someone. Like, you know, like think about what we're all doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is our job. Like, this is a part of work, you know? And I just think I kick myself every single day. A question for you two guys, because I think, like, your partner doesn't work anymore either, does she, Leo?
Nah.
So, do you guys feel a sense of pressure as it relates to business and as it relates to, you know, like that man of the house that, like, you know, you've got to provide? Like, is there a sense of pressure there?
I'll probably, for me it is, because like you said, I for me it's hard for me to say no to people if they ask me. Like my Instagram says fully booked, but if someone asks, I'm like, yeah, let's try and make it work.
Yeah.
And then obviously the more I work, the more I get pulled from other places, like my kids and my wife needs their time, and I need my own time, and then it's, you know, you get a bit of pressure, especially with lockdown coming when it came around, with COVID and lockdown. You know, but the pressure, I felt a bit of pressure, and I've never felt that before. And I'm happy and all that all the time, but when that came around, I felt a bit pressured. And then that's how Padbros came along too. So obviously when lockdown was around, the gyms was closed, and we were seeing people at the parks still working, still grinding. We had our own trainers, and all we had was our pads and gloves, like Ray said before. So that's what kicked off Padbros too, is to make sure we could still make money for our families during lockdown.
What's the other side of that, right? So you guys work a lot, yeah? Like, you guys are in the trenches, you know, doing a lot of sessions, and like you said, you got to provide for your families, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. You know, this is probably one thing that a lot of males don't actually talk about, you know, like, because I feel that pressure, you know what I mean? I don't even have kids yet, you know, but it's like, I know that one day I'm going to have kids, and that pressure, that back against the wall, is also what makes me work so hard, but it can also go the other way, right? It's like that, and especially for you guys, right? Like, the amount of sessions that you guys do, like, how do you guys juggle this, you know, your businesses, being a good partner, you know, now both fathers, you know, like, how do you guys juggle that? And more importantly, with Padbros, like, because Padbros, we're going to go into what Padbros is. We're going to go into what makes it different, what makes it special, right? But first, what we want to do is, you know, like, I think there's an untold part of business that not enough people talk about. And then as males, there's another addition to that because of society and you know, females, it's changing, like, you know, and these kind of things. But for your situation, you know, COVID hits, you still have to provide for the family. You know, this is obviously something that a lot of people are going through, right? But it hits, gyms shut. Gyms have been shut for over 352 days, right? You know, and people, you know, and then you guys still have to provide because you're the only income coming into the house. So that's the birth of Padbros. But the question that I would have, right, is that what is it that is what is driving Padbros, right? Is that like the fact that you were under so much pressure? Was there a realization there that, hey, like maybe that, like, we've got more in us, right? But it, you know, is this really sustainable for us? You know, is this how do we want to be put in this situation again?
Yeah, bro, 100%. Like, the first time I ever been in a lockdown before in my life, I actually stopped. I had to look up and I go, the hamster wheel of life has stopped. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're doing all day. Everyone's just trying to pay and earn enough money so that they could pay the bills and continue on to the next week. But then I said, hold on for a second. We're locked down and we're in our homes now. We're not allowed to go to work for the first time ever, for 4 months or whatever, the first time it ever happened. And I said to myself, what's life really about? Is it only the fact that I can exchange my time for money? Because I've done that in the past and it hasn't worked out too well for me. I'll tell you a story, bro. When I was an apprentice electrician, this is probably the closest I've ever been to what I could say is I could feel as being close to a slave as I possibly could. The first boss I ever had, a bit of a cocksucker. He wasn't too good on treating his staff well in terms of paying on time and all that sort of stuff. Real dodgy character. Just didn't look after us. So I learnt my first real hard life lesson in that job. He would get us to work and he would pay us and he would say that the money's coming next week. Money's coming next week. Money's coming next week. I remember working for this guy for 10 weeks straight without getting one paycheck. And I remember saying to myself, because the first time it actually kicked in was when I went to Coles to go buy a can of tuna and I was starving and he declined. I go, no one's going to take care of yourself in this world. No one cares about you in this world except for you. You're responsible for your own happiness. You're responsible for your own sort of ability to go out and achieve something. It's all based on you. Don't wait on anyone else. Don't wait and expect these promises to be kept. So that's what I learned from that job. So when I was in this situation again and I go, you know what, I've got a lot of time on my hands. Am I going to sit here and wait or am I going to try and achieve something? So I used a lot of that time that we went through that first lockdown. And I realized, hold on a second, we're living in 2021. You know how much information's out there, bro? On YouTube, Skillshare, things like this where you could really upgrade your skill set to the stage where you could make that profitable. And that's what I realized at that time. I go, a lot of the stuff that we do at the gym these days is, you could have the maddest classes, you could have the maddest vibes at the gym. But what I realized is if you don't create that content to be able to share it with the world, it's not going to be as effective because that's basically free marketing right there. Back in the days, you'd have to pay for an advertisement to be on TV to get 100,000 views. I could get that off a reel right now. It's free. But how do we convey that message and how do we make that nice? So what I started to do during the first lockdown was, you know what? I'm going to study digital marketing. I'm going to study videography. I'm going to study how to create content and how to edit videos and all that sort of stuff. So that's where that all came about. And I put all of that effort that I put into my work into something else. Now, all of a sudden, I started to realize you don't have to convert your time for money. Now I could convert my value for money. My value is worth a lot more to someone than my actual time, if that makes sense. So people would see me as a guy who's worth $30 an hour, $40, $50 an hour, whatever it may be, for doing labor for them, for their business, for their work. But if I'm going to provide value to your business, I could tell you I'm worth this much. If you want it, take it. It depends how good I am. Depends how good you are. I'm sure there's people that pay you a lot of money because they find you valuable. And that's what I realized. My value in this world is not worth what they think I'm worth. It's worth what I think I'm worth. And I decided to say, based on my experiences and all that sort of stuff, I'm never going to undercut myself. I'm never going to undersell myself anymore. You know what I mean? There were times where I was getting paid, shit, you're not, bro, $4.50 an hour. And I was happy to do that. And they were happy to pay me that. You know what I mean? And I would have kept going on that if I just stayed quiet about it. It's getting to the stage now where I no longer want to try and convert my time for money, but rather my value and what I could provide to people. The more value I provide to people's lives, the more they would pay me for it or the more I'd get out of it, which then in turn means I could live a more sustainable lifestyle for my family. Because my son's growing up now. My wife needs help at home. I can't be out all hours of the day working 12-hour shifts anymore. You know what I mean? But my responsibility is still to my family. And I promised my wife once we have a child, you don't have to work anymore. I told her I'm going to look after you. So the money still has to come in, but the way that it comes in now is a little bit different. It's through the digital sort of market space, whatever you might call it. Through stuff that doesn't require my time physically anymore, but the value that I give to people and we give to people.
Because that, like, you know, that there's like it's a hard position to win in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you know, you go away and you work and you work your 12 hours and you're doing what you're doing because you want your family to have a good life. But then there's the other side of it is like, well, if I'm not around, or, you know, I want to be around more, right? Because I'm developing another human. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's the pressure, in my opinion. You know, like, I feel that pressure now and I don't have a kid. You know, you two are in the trenches every day and, like, still showing up, you know, for everybody. Like, I'm sure that if we were to take a poll, not to every single one of your clients and ask, 1 to 10, right? There'd be 10s all over the shop, right? And it's like there's a pressure there for you guys to show up no matter what, but there's also a pressure saying, well, or there's that voice in the back of the head saying, is this going to be the best thing for my child? You know what I mean? And like, if for the time I am there, like Leo, you got like I see your stories, with your children as well as all the stories that you do with work, right? And Ray, I know that you're the same. It's like you get home and you're on still. Like you don't turn off until probably 10, 11 at night once the kids are in bed. You know what I mean? So like there is a pressure there, and I think that's everybody has different pressures in their life, but I think that's definitely a pressure that you can feel as someone who's self-employed and still selling their time for money.
100%. Yep. That's the hardest thing, man. I feel like it's a never-ending cycle. I give too much time at work, and then I start to feel that pressure yanking me back home. I spend too much time at home, and people are buzzing me saying, "Hey, bro, when are we gonna get back into it?" It's very hard for us because in our industry, we don't like to let people down. You know what I mean? Some people are really struggling out there, bro. They need that help. Their 45-minute session with us, that's their escape for the day that might set them on a good path the rest of the week. So we think about that as we're at home as well, and we're like, I don't want to let this guy down. You know what I mean? And like my wife today, bro, in the morning, she's like, "Hey, when are you gonna take a day off?" I'll take parts of a day off. You know what I mean? For the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've been working 7 days a week, every single week. You know what I mean? I'll have parts of a day off, but that's that. Yeah, like you were saying, that's that pressure. So that's how Padbros is born, right? How does if this is successful, how does it potentially change your lives? And what does that mean to you guys?
Success probably for me will be more time with the family. Obviously still doing what we love, but giving more time to them. They're growing up every day, the boys. But yeah.
Someone's got to take him to the NBA, bro.
That would be it, bro. That's definitely the success for me would be
100%. Like in a personal sense, that's what it will be for us. But in an external sense, what we want to provide to people out there is there's so many boxing tutorials. There's so many people giving out information about boxing, but there's not a lot of people that do it the right way. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let's stop there for a second. Okay, so let's explain what Padbros is.
Yeah.
So how do you explain what Padbros is?
Basically, in a nutshell, Padbros, what we try and do is we try and provide people with information to have a certain level of boxing competency that they could take on any level, whether you're a beginner, amateur, professional, and be effective with that information. So what we try and do is there's certain things that I explain during our tutorials. So we have like digital online tutorials where we teach people from A to Z on a pad work style that Floyd Mayweather has, that Canelo Alvarez has, these famous fighters out there in the world. But what I try and do is I try and tell them from the base root of where this style came from and what it could mean for you if you're a fighter, what it could mean for you if you're a personal trainer, and what it could mean for your client if they try and train a certain way. It's not just so much about getting your heart rate up and working hard and copy this. It's about us explaining to the viewers and us explaining to our customers where this all came from and how to understand it so that they can then be better at explaining it to their customers and explaining it to their fighters maybe. So we want to try and bring up the level of boxing competency, which means that our standard has to be really high, which we really do put a high standard for ourselves, so that people can go out there in the world and use that same information and be successful with it the same way I was successful with it. Because when Leo knows this as well, when we were growing up sort of learning it all, no one had these tutorials where they'll teach you from A to Z. You'd sit there and you watch a video and you'd look at them and you'll be like, I want to copy this part, I want to snippet this, I want to take this apart. But when I was boxing, when I was started, the reason why I used to get so into deep with how the science of boxing works is because, like I said, I was super fat, bro. I was overweight, unathletic. didn't have the best cardio. So the only way for me to be successful in that ring is to understand the science of boxing to a certain degree where I would be able to dismantle a larger, heavier opponent. I'd able to outbox a shorter, faster opponent. Then I'd be able to do all of these things because I understood what the science of boxing meant and how to use that in my advantage. So when I explain something, I want to really explain it from deep down and from the roots of it so that people understand all the way from where this came from, why to use it, how to use it, and when to use it.
What really attracted me to this project was the fact that the value proposition is like no other. And whenever you've got a really good value proposition in business, you basically got a really good retention strategy. And I think of it like this, right? Like, okay, so if you're a trainer or if you're someone who's looking to make a career and boxing's your passion and you want to be good at it, what keeps someone coming back to you is a feel of progression, right? Like that's where I think normal boxing is different to fitness boxing. And I actually really think that in today's modern age, people want to learn skills, right? Because, I've boxed with both of you guys and I still do now, but what keeps me coming back is that feeling that I feel like I'm getting better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And in fitness, that's really hard to measure. Like, yeah, you can probably push a bit harder, but you're not feeling that confidence come, and that style and so on. And value proposition is what makes you different to everybody else, right? And if you truly have a passion for boxing and you want to make that a career, retention is your number one go-to. Like, you need to be able to keep someone coming back every single week. And the way you do that is to make them feel like they're progressing. And then you chuck in the added bonus of not teaching people just fundamentals, but teaching them styles of the people that they look up to. Mayweather, Canelo, these kind of guys. Like, that's who these people watch. If you're a boxing fanatic, you're watching fights and you're probably wanting to base your style on them anyway.
Yeah.
And that's for me what makes this project, it's what really attracted it to me. Because, I'm not in the boxing world, but I haven't seen much of it. I know there's a few out there, like the Tony Jeffries might do a little bit of it. And there's a few other like businesses, but I just think there's a massive opportunity from a business perspective. And I think it adds a lot of, that's a real big fundamental key of business that I think a lot of people look over. It's like, it's not as simple. Like, if you want to be a great business owner and you want to scale a product beyond just time for money, it's not just about having the skill or teaching someone to have that skill. You've got to be different. You've got to have a winning product. And one of the keys to having a winning product is having something that's different. And then leveraging emerging markets to do that. And that's what you were talking about before with your digital marketing. It's like, we've got a really different product here, but we need to leverage emerging markets to get this thing off the ground. We need to leverage, okay, how does someone's psychology actually work now? And that's really, really important when we're building a product. We keep the customer psychology in mind. And that's, if you can nail those two things, okay, we're different, but we also have really good utility, and we're going to leverage emerging markets to do that. And I just think that's really, really important. That's what really attracted me to this project with you guys from a business perspective, is like Padbros. Okay, I seen it kind of come off the ground. I was just training with you guys, like, yeah, let's book in a session. But we started to talk, and I go, well, nah, like, this is what you've got to do. Yeah. I remember sitting in the ring, and Leo's looking at me like, oh, like this, like it's fucking going. But I just remember going, no, like, this is what you have to do. Right, because it's different. People, like you see people like boxing in the park, right? And it's like left, right, dodge under, and it's like the same shit. And the dodge isn't even a fucking dodge, you know what I mean? It's like that like, and it's like, but nah, like if you, like what keeps me coming back is the fact that I feel like I'm getting better. I've got my own little style. I got a little bit of Mayweather in me. Well, I like to think I got that anyway, right? But that's, in my head, I'm like, fuck yeah. I actually watch boxing now. Before, you never get me to watch a boxing fight. But now it's because I can pick these little things up. And again, it's that confidence. I feel like I'm getting better. And I think, I just think from a business perspective, that's really what you're trying to go for. And we're going to be able to shed light on this. We're going to go through this process. We're going to launch this thing. give it our best shot to get this off the ground and really turn it into something that's got legs and just trying to capture that process. So what is it that you guys, how do you envision this? Like, what's the future of Padbros? Like, where do you guys want to take it?
It's going to get big. It's going to get big, bro. To be honest, we've been talking about this for a long time. But we want to get it to the stage that it's able to have its own legs and be able to sustain us basically full time. So that, like I said, man, when we stopped running on that hamster wheel of life for a little bit, so many things, so many different opportunities opened up for us, you know. Padbros, I started creating a website, started doing this, started doing that. We put together all this content, and I feel like we just leveled up, you know what I mean? But it really took us time, freedom, you know what I mean? Because we had nothing else to do when we had freedom. When we had that time to actually sit and talk to each other, and we weren't busy flat stick. So I want to be able to create the platform, make sure that it's accessible all around the world to everyone, so that people can go out there and be successful in their own way using our information, some of the stuff that we give us, bits and pieces of it. But I want to be able to get to the stage where it sustains us both and we're both comfortable. But then quite possibly down the road, who knows, maybe even open up like a Padbros gym. We have our own spot where, you know, we have a studio and we have famous people, like famous boxers coming in, and we interview them and we talk to them more so than just about their fights, but about their life and what it means to them, because boxing is so much more than what happens in the ring. It's about what happens, you know, on the outside. So that's the dream. Have our own gym. That's, you know, part of it is a studio. We could come and do stuff like this where we could chat to real boxers and tell them, you know, chat to them about their experiences and chat to these high-level trainers and chat to them about their experiences and how they went through it all. So it's not just about the boxing anymore. It's about the whole lifestyle of being a PT, being a you know, being a fighter, because everyone out there fights, they just fight differently, you know what I mean? And just being able to run through and share that story with everyone, you know what I mean? So many good stories out there from people that we chat to, our clients and all that sort of stuff, but we don't really have the platform to share it. So that would be the ultimate dream.
What are some of the main obstacles that you guys see in front of you then, right? Because, you know, every business has a set of obstacles in front of it, right? And it's individual to who's running it. It's individual to where that business is at, what stage of business it's at. So what are the obstacles that you guys see ahead? Like, what do you need to overcome individually as people, right? But then as a collective as well. Like, what are some of the barriers you need to break through?
I think individually for me, I need to sort of be able to break through the barrier of not always rushing things and thinking about the long game. I'm not a long game type of person. I'm a go fucking hard out for like 2 weeks and then see where this takes me type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to plan and sort of organize myself in a way where I feel like it's not going to be successful now, but in 6 months' time, a year's time, 2 years' time, watch what happens. Because my enthusiasm, if I think it's going to happen in 2 weeks, after that 2 weeks drops, right? And then so does my planning, so does my effort into putting into the business, because this is essentially the first business that I've done sort of properly with planning and everything like that. All the other stuff that I've done beforehand has been just go as you please, you know what I mean? I'll figure it out when I reach that problem. But for me right now, it's like I want to figure out the problems now before I get to them. So that's one thing I've never done before. And I think that's one thing that's going to really help push us to the next level, where all that little stuff counts, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, our mentality is when we're working, we're out and we're sweating and we're physically working. But the real hard work comes from sitting at home and planning and doing all this small stuff so that everything runs smooth when you get out there. It's all preparation that's the hard part. It's not the actually being out there and us shooting the videos and creating content and all that. So that's for me personally one spot where I'd need to work on. What do you reckon, Leo?
Probably it was knowledge, right? Because obviously we both do things we both take people because we love people. We love training. I love training. I love taking people. I love hanging out with people. But for me, it was like when we started hanging out with you. I remember when Ray started training you first, and I was like, "That's Kyle, bro." And he was like, "Yeah, it's Kyle." That's my client, Kyle. I was like,
I didn't know who you were, bro. I didn't know what you done.
I was like, Kyle does podcasts and all that, bro. Talk about business and all that. And he was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, Can I take you for a session? That's what I asked him. And it was not till obviously started hanging out with you, bro, and you just started opening up our minds to like just bigger, you know? Because like me, I grew up no business, no. I just go with the flow, just try to make money. You know, I didn't even know the words like cash flow and all of that, and not till hanging out with you. So probably the biggest thing for me is learning the business side of things, because obviously we're good at the training stuff and all that, but then bringing those two together and making it like a monster, you know, and so that would be the biggest thing for me.
It's the toughest leap. I think, you know, I have these conversations with people every single day. The toughest leap from someone who's self-employed to then create something that isn't just reliant on you, where it can grow without the reliance on your time or your need to go out and provide that service, right? Something that actually scales. And a lot of it comes honestly because, you know, I was in the fitness industry, you know, for years, and you don't get into that kind of industry, and it's like any other industry. It's like creatives, right? Like, John, you wouldn't have gotten into what you're doing now because you love business. You would have gotten into it because you love sound and you love, you know, that creativity and you love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I probably have a different sort of story. That's probably better. Yeah, so I started in a, let's just say a 9-to-5 job straight from uni. Always thought sound, music, video was my thing. That's what I wanted to do. As soon as I got into my dream job from uni, it wasn't what I thought it was. It was the same thing every day. So it was then trying to create the dream that I wanted every day, and that was going off on my own and doing it. So yeah, I did build something like that, but yeah, never did I think of becoming a businessman. You know, it was always just, let's just try do my dream of the stuff that I love and what keeps me happy. But what comes with that, which people like me and other creatives, they don't realize that you become an entrepreneur, a businessman, and you have to then, like you were saying, learn the big words and work out what happens with the business and all that.
And that's, you know, and that's what I mean. Like, you know, even we were talking with like Danielle's artwork, and it's like the same thing. It's like she didn't get into what she's doing because she loved business. Like, she likes painting, you know, and it's like, I think that's the difference, right? It's like, you know, and a lot of us, you know, we're not born into money, you know, like, you know, I fucking had no idea about cash flow, had no idea about money, man. Like, I was 18 to 21, damn, you don't even want to know like the shit that happened. And it's like, that's not what you do it for. That's not, you know, it's not, you don't have that knowledge. You're not coming into it. You don't have people backing you and saying, yeah, man, I'll give you 30 grand to start your business. It's like, nah, like you wake up at 4 a.m., you go there and you just sell until you got a wage.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the reality of it. And I think the hardest leap to make is to, and for a few reasons, but is to go from that person who's self-employed, where you know you can rely on yourself, to then having to build something that's bigger than you, right? To then trust other people, to lean into relationships and to lean into this journey. And sometimes it doesn't get reciprocated. Yeah, like, and then it's like, oh man, fuck this, I'm gonna go back. I'll go back to doing what I know, right? And that's the hardest thing, right? Because we've talked about this. You have to sacrifice now for the future that you want. And in our world, where we have worked so hard just to get to where we are, without any knowledge, without any money behind us, without any backing, you know, fought hell for leather since day one. Fuck, you know, like you could lose that. Right? That's the hardest thing. And I think that that is the leap that so many self-employed people just
100%.
absolutely struggle with.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. And then, we've talked about it. We've covered it in this podcast. And then you've got the other pressures. Like, none of, like, Leo, Ray, you didn't have kids when you started. Now you got kids. The dynamics changed. Right. You have to work more. Right. You have to earn more to provide. It's like you're not by yourself anymore. You're not just running amok by yourself. Like all these kind of things. Right. And Leo, you've been a father for quite a while. Right. So I think that's the toughest thing about business for someone who's self-employed, who doesn't have that knowledge. Like,
100%.
you gotta learn how to do this, and that's why a lot of people get trapped.
Yeah.
100%. You got a job with twice the amount of pressure. That's really what it is. Until you can learn to build a business that scales beyond you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. You could be as passionate about whatever you do. Like, you could be super passionate about it, but if you don't have any business sense at all, then you're going to struggle. But I also feel like if you have a lot of business sense and have no passion in it, that's when you're going to struggle as well. You got to find and marriage both of them. Once you hit that point, it's beautiful. It's all gravy. You know what I mean? But it's both of those things coming in together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to provide these conversations, like that actually help people get ahead, that actually help people start to make strides that they don't get taught, that their parents didn't have with them, because their parents, because like my mom, man, like I'll grow up with a single mom, man, she just works, she working 7 till 7, like, and she gets home, she's cooking me dinner. Like, she's the GOAT, but she didn't have time to teach me this. She didn't know it herself, she was lucky enough to meet someone who taught her that stuff. Maybe, I think they've been together for like 8 years now, in 10 years. And it's like, she only started to learn it then. Yeah. And it's like, how am I meant to know it? How am I meant to learn it? And I think that's what, that's like a lot of the conversations that we're having now around business, around money, and around investing, around wealth, they only get had at the level that's above where we're coming from. Yeah. Like it's these conversations only happen up here. People have the technical conversations. People have, we're gonna try create a reality TV show that shows the journey you're about to go on. But usually it's fucking big corporations that are doing this. Yeah. So there's politics involved. There has to be big money backing it. Yeah. We're only going to do it with an idea that could get to 20 million or 30 million. Like, and I just feel like there's not enough out there for the everyday person, for maybe that person who's self-employed, who's hustling every single day, right? And is it accessible? Right? That's the other thing. Like, is it actually accessible? Right? Or is it only getting taught by someone who's going to say, you have to pay me 20 grand. Yeah. You have to pay me 30 grand. You know what I mean? And it's that leap, because that leap unlocks so much. Yeah. Like, what would your life look like if you finished if you got to pick if you got to pick your kids up from school? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and what will yours look like with all that, with extra time? And what would change? Like, fuck, man, I wouldn't even want to see your grocery bills. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that's the thing, is that it's just not accessible. Yeah. And I think that's the important thing about the journey we're all about to go on together. Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean? Like, this is something I'm extremely passionate about, and bootlegging this, you know what I mean? Like, trying to put this together, because I think it's so important. Yeah. I think that making it accessible, showing the journey, but more importantly, showing that anyone can do it.
That's the thing, bro. Yeah.
If I can do it, like, people look at me, right? And like, because I do educate in this space, and I do things like podcasts, and I do things like that, but people look at it like it was always there. Yeah. Yeah, like, and I think that's the thing that, for me, it's like, nah, like, man, like, I was in fucking $40,000, $50,000 worth of debt, from the age of 18 to 20 to 22, because I made mistakes, and I didn't know how to manage money whatsoever. For a long time, I was making $100 grand a year, hustling like you guys were, and I had nothing to show for it because I was a kid and I didn't manage my money properly. But through trauma, more than anything, was able to flip that script and was able to just dedicate. And then, you know what? Like, I took some risks back in the day. You know, I think I ran like a seminar series. That was the first thing I did outside of PT. And I had to put up 20 grand of my own money. And that was like literally 90% of my savings before I even got to make a dime out of it. Right? And I was lucky because I did have some business acumen then. And maybe I was a little bit crazy. But at that point, like, if I had, like, not, like, how many people actually will take that leap?
Yeah.
You know, and how many people, like, don't get to do that or don't get to experience or even just reach their fucking potential.
Reach their potential. That's
because they don't have access to that kind of education because they're not having those conversations.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the mentors. They don't have the network. You know, they're not surrounded by those people. I was having a conversation with a client the other day, you know, and like his family and stuff like that are like, why would you invest in a mentor? Why would you pay a mentor that amount of money? Right? Or like, you know, oh man, like you got to be careful. That's really risky. You know, like don't do that. Like, nah, like what are you doing? Go get a job. And it's like, that's what the everyday person experiences.
Yeah. Yep.
People around
100%.
them, when they start to go out on a limb and start to do something maybe a little bit different, nah, man, like you shouldn't do that. That's too risky.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Right? And it's like, you know, you guys, right? Like to truly get this off the ground, like we're going to have to or every single one of us, we're going to have to level up.
Yeah.
Me included. That's something we're going to have to do. Because we're in this.
Yeah.
This is official. We're fucking live.
We on.
Yeah. Like the skin is in the game.
Yeah.
100%, bro.
And it's like, I think that's important, right? Because we want to show people that you do have to sacrifice, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can go out of the, you know, you can step a little bit to the left. You can get outside that box. That is just the hustle and the grind and you know, the work in the 12 hours a day and that pressure, and you can take that leap, and we just want to share insight to that leap.
Yeah, 100%.
What's even crazy, man, just us hanging out with you, you know, the what we've learned, man, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Because every time we talk about it, we really thought all of these things and all of this information that you give us, we both used to just think this was all theoretical. It's not for us. It's for people who are out there wearing suits, and you know what I mean? So we had that small business mindset, or we had that mindset that will keeping us small. But then we talk to someone like you who opens our eyes to it and really explains to us, hey, it's actually just a simple path that you need to follow, but you need to make sure you understand what you're doing before you do it, which we've never got before. And like you were saying, anytime we try and step out that box, it might be even the voice in the back of our heads from our upbringing saying, don't do it, it's risky. You know what I mean? Don't step out of line. You might be putting yourself in a position where you can't recover from this. But I've always been the type of guy that said, fuck, I've always been a risk taker. And I've always said that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in. And I just want to see how far it takes me.
It's an identity thing, right? Like that's the biggest thing here. It's an identity. Like, you know, oh, it's not for me, man. Like, you know, under cash flow, like, nah, man. Like, I just, you know, I got to go to work. I just got to hustle,
I just
man.
count my bills.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm getting paid, you know, and these kind of things. And I think it's an identity thing. And it's an identity thing that's caused by society, right? Like, that's the reality, you know, like where you live, where you were brought up, you know, how much money did your parents make? All this kind of stuff puts people into boxes, and people think that they can never get out of that box. They don't even try to get out of the box, you know? And I think that is one thing that I've been able to do, you know, like I've been able to maybe jump to the next box, and it's been liberating as hell. You know, I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand, right? Like, it's interesting, man. Like, you know, you speak to someone who like, you know, there's people out there that might do like $10 million, right? And that's like nothing to them, right? And it's because of the network they're in. Like, they just think that that's normal. You know what I mean? Like, people out there, and it's like, you know, if you come from money, that's normal. like growing up, if that's the life you were living, and you went to the private school in the city, and you went to that high level school, and you're surrounded by kids that are from other rich people, and it's like, and that's and then there's the other side of it where we think that like what we do is normal and that kind of thing, and how we're brought up and so on. And I think that you kind of society tells you that you can't, like, that you've got to stay there, right? Like that no, like that's not for you. Like you're not capable of that. Like and you don't even think that that's a thing, or that you can get to that level. But I think what can happen, and once you start to shift and you start to get out of that box, or you jump to that next box, you realize that it's just about jumping boxes.
Bro, that's all it is, man. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? You know what I mean? I was depressed for 6 years in a job that I hated, and I just thought that's what the rest of my life was going to be like until I shifted. I jumped boxes. No one in my family, no one in my friend circle think that I'm working a real job, like till this day. I'm providing for my family and all that sort of stuff, but they think I'm just sitting here fucking around. You know what I mean? And that's all right for them to think like that, but now that I am in this industry, and now that I've learned everything that I have learned, it's given me so much more freedom, so much more happiness. You know what I mean? Either way, I'm going to have to work hard. But I'd rather work hard in a job that I love than work hard in a job that fucking sucks. You know what I mean? And that gives me the satisfaction.
And if life's not about jumping from box to box, what is it? Right? Like, if life's not about getting better, we talk about pressure, but pressure's privilege. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality. Pressure's privilege.
Yeah, like that.
That's the way I think of it. That's why I like jumping boxes. Like we talk about it, like the pressure that comes from needing to be a father. Your perception of what that pressure is dictates the outcome, right? Like, do you view this as something that is a burden, or is this actually your greatest opportunity? And I think that's the difference, right? Like, jump the box before you're ready, right? And embrace it
100%.
for whatever it is. And I think that's what we want to inspire people to do. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And I think that's my hope, right? Is to put something like this together, is to be able to inspire the everyday person.
Yep.
Not the fucking person who's already doing the 10 million. We don't care about them, right? We want to inspire the everyday person to do more, to be more, to think outside the box, to jump to their next box. That's
Jump
it.
the box, baby.
All right. That's the intro version. Guys, if this excites you, and this is something that resonates with you, and you like, and you, this is like, you feel this, get behind it, right? Because this means something. This means something to Ray, to Leo, to me. We're a collective. We're going in on this, and your support not only helps Ray and Leo, not only helps me, but it helps the movement that's going on here, and we appreciate it, and we're so grateful for it. So we're going to wrap it up, but get behind it, because that's how we can really start to make a dent, and really start to bring everybody else around us up.
100%.
All right. So we're recording this. Like, you guys are going to see this in 2022. It's currently 2021. And you're going to be watching this next year, or this year, sorry. No, next year. Sorry, got a little bit confused. But we really hope that you're excited for this, and we really hope that you tune in and you follow the journey, and you get in it and you ask questions, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. And I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with this, right? I'll support you guys. I'll provide you with whatever I can. And as a collective, Donnie, Disco, we're going to make it happen, and we're going to bring this together.
Exciting times, man.
Let's go.
Oh. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I really hope you enjoyed this kind of new episode of Project Startup, and we're really excited to take you on this journey with us next year. So make sure you tune in, make sure you get behind it, make sure you support it, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of it. Peace.